Please take a seat so we can begin. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Before we begin, please make sure to turn off and put away all electronic devices if you have not done so already. Thank you.
Welcome to Catella Talks. My name is Dulce Torre.
And my name is Miranda Ricks, and we will be your hosts for today's events.
During this period, you will see student presentations and documentaries on a variety of topics that were selected by you.
Please sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Today, we are hosting Catella Talks. This event showcases students from each grade level presenting on a problem they would like to solve within their community, major, or career interest.
These talks are student-driven, student-led, and student-produced. Students choose topics that are personal and that they are passionate about. They choose which student presentation should be showcased, and they are shooting and editing each presentation in a TED Talk format.
We hope these talks lead to exciting conversation, curiosity, skepticism, openness, critical thinking, and action.
And now, on with the show. Please welcome our first presentation from the class of 2020, Valerie Enriquez and Luis Sanchez.
Good morning. I'm here to talk about the inclusion of special needs students socially. This is important as in 2016, Congress released the Condition of Education. The Condition of Education is a census that stated that 13% of all public school students have received some sort of assistance academically, or roughly 6.5 million students due to their disability.
Here on the Catella campus, we have a program called Inclusion, and inclusion is the mainstream of students with less severe disabilities such as dyslexia or small cognitive disadvantages. And through inclusion, these students are integrated into a core regular classroom environment with an aide at their side that assists them in learning at their own pace. We have spoken to two teachers here on campus, Mr. Harris and Mr. Viramontes, and they both said very positive things about the inclusion program and how overall it benefits these students and allows them to learn how to work with their disabilities and be successful later on in life.
And although very beneficial, it doesn't incorporate students with severe disabilities. So our goal is to incorporate all aspects of special education through the program Catella Buddies. Catella Buddies is a mentorship program that allows any of you to pair up with a special education student and give them a high school experience. It allows them to go to after-school games or dances because they don't have the ability to do so without an adult. And you wouldn't realize it's the little things in high school that help make up your high school experience. So in a personal interview with Jordan Garcia, the special education teacher here on campus, she stated that this was beneficial for the students as they received age-appropriate behavior and speech, as well as for all of us as we feel more comfortable speaking to them.
This is personal on behalf of me and Luis because we are part of the ASB here on campus, and every year in Servathon we do throw a dance for these students, one of the few events that they do really enjoy. And it's just amazing to see how these students are able to come out of their shell and really enjoy themselves and realize that they deserve to have this high school experience just as everybody else. And me being an ASB, I do have a first-hand witness. Every day since the dance, one of the students here, he's in the crowd, his name is Angelo, he's able to come up to me and talk to me and ask me if I can open the door for him. And it's just amazing to see how this dance gave him the courage and confidence to come up and talk to me, and I greatly appreciate him knowing that I'm here for him and I'm his friend.
And this problem isn't something that Val and I can solve alone. It isn't even a problem that ASB can solve. It takes all of us, it takes our entire community to welcome them in and make sure that they don't feel isolated. So next year when you see us on KTV promoting Catella Buddies, come on out, or if not, just say hi to them, have a regular conversation, and make them feel like regular teenagers because that's what they are. Thank you.
And please remember, this isn't for us, it's for them. Thank you.
The process that led to these talks started with the English department using the project-based learning model as a foundation, which included 4 steps.
The driving question. This is where everything begins. The driving question creates interest or a sense of challenge for students and guides the entire project work.
For this project, we adopted a question from the Common Application that many students reply to when applying for colleges across the nation.
What is a problem you would like to solve within your major, career interest, or community?
This question allows for anything that is of personal interest, big or small, no matter the scale, and students began by replying to this question in writing.
I benefited the most from the driving question because it helped me come up with a topic and a problem I believe I should talk to my peers about. The research/inquiry. This step engages students in a rigorous, extended process of asking questions, finding resources, and applying information to create a more personal and tailored driving question, as well as researching that question.
The process that I liked the best was research and inquiry because it allowed me to go talk to different people that were involved in special education, and it opened me up to new ideas and how they have different curriculum and there's different programs that are implemented at our school.
I agree with her, and it really allowed for us to receive inside information and information you wouldn't really get to know about, and that wouldn't have been possible without research.
Critical Friends Protocol allows students to give, receive, and use feedback to improve their process and their product.
Critical Friends Protocol helped me the most because it gave me the chance to share my story with other people, and when I seen their reactions to when I was telling the story, it helped me realize how important it is, and it gave me more confidence in telling my story, and it made me feel more better about presenting if I did get picked.
Critical Friends Protocol because it allowed me to correct myself in my speech on many new things, and I needed to hear what other people thought about it.
Gallery walk/presentation. This is the final step when students make their project work public by explaining, displaying, and/or presenting it to others. The presenters today were chosen by their fellow classmates at each grade level to present to you today.
It was the gallery walk/presentation. It was because we did it. I wasn't used to doing it 10 times because in my previous school it's just like we just have to get this presentation done in like once for 2 minutes and then that's it. But like with our school here in Catella, they do it 10 times, so by the time you kind of repeat it, like you'll be confident and then you'll know your topic much better.
Thank you, Valerie and Luis. Now please welcome our next presenter from the class of 2019, Liliana Garibe.
Okay, so an issue I want to talk about today is video game violence. For starters, I am a mother myself. We do live in a generation where it's like the 21st century where video games and technology are more appealing to children and young adults. While doing my research, CNN News reported that 90% of the children in the United States play video games, which is the majority of the population, if you imagine that. They also reported that 85% or more of the video games on the market contain violence. This personally interested me. Why? Because since I am a mother, I would want to protect my son from all this violence that is everywhere now. I love my son dearly, and I do not wish upon any of your children or my son to harm someone or think it's okay to harm someone. I'm sorry. Okay. Some ways that we can fix this is how parents should be more educated about what the screens can do to a child's development and how these video games can harm them. I'm sorry. Another way that we can fix this can be like how video games could be translated in other people's languages, because not everybody speaks English, and also like how parents should monitor what their children download on a daily, because now you don't need to stay at home to be on a game console. You could literally have your phone with you and download games and all that kinds of stuff. And also as a community, what you all can do is go out and go home and go, like if you have little brothers and sisters, go play with them, interact with them, show them from right and wrong, and tell them like, you know, like don't always be behind the screen, and always communicate with people, because video games are very harmful to them. And if you care about them, if you really truly love them, you would do this and encourage them to be more outdoors. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Liliana. Students also created short documentaries based on their Catella Talks. Please welcome the first documentary, Undocumented Students, by Dulce Torre.
I came to the United States when I was about a year old. I think I had just turned a year old because I have pictures of where I turned a year old in Mexico, and then there's a gap, and then my mom's pregnant, so I think a year, yes. I think I kind of knew that I wasn't born here in America, but my mom had always told me that if anybody ever asked, to just say that I was born here because she was afraid that they'd do something to me.
I came to the United States when I was 9 years old, and I've always known that I was undocumented.
I was born in the country of Guatemala, and I came when I was 6 years old, so I have always known I was undocumented.
I was born in Mexico. Okay, so I think I found out when I was like about 9. I don't know.
Decidí venir a Estados Unidos por un futuro mejor para mis hijas. Dejé a una niña de 3 años y a una de 6 años. Y la separación de mis padres, pues nunca lo había hecho, me había separado de mi familia, pero la necesidad me obligó a hacer eso, a venirme aquí para un futuro mejor, donde hay mucho trabajo.
No, I don't think my parents were knowledgeable enough, because I remember when I was applying to college, it was me doing everything, and whenever I would ask about something, they never knew anything. Schools should be the one helping, like counselors and stuff, and I got no help there either.
Applying to college and being a dreamer was hard because the few of my cousins that had gone to college, they had done FAFSA and not DREAM Act, so they couldn't help me. They didn't know my application and how to do it. So when I did it by myself, I ended up doing it wrong, and at one point I wasn't going to receive financial aid.
I just felt super weird about asking about like the DREAM Act, because I felt like nobody else was filling it out and I was like the only one. Like I felt like I was by myself.
Que sean unos profesionales, que sean unas personas de bien en todo sentido, o que ellos puedan tener un futuro mejor, el futuro que yo no pude tener.
And I feel like undocumented kids feel this struggle because they feel the struggle more because our parents gave up so much of their life for us, and we can't just not do anything with our lives.
So I feel like I've always put this pressure on myself with getting good grades and like trying to be the best I could be so that they can be proud of me and like tell them that like, oh, like, you know, this was worth it. Like all like the trials you went through and the sacrifice, like it was worth it.
My biggest struggle since like, I guess like kind of realizing that I might not see everybody again.
I think that because I'm undocumented and I wanted to go to college, it was harder for me because I wasn't born here. So I knew that I wasn't going to get a lot of money. And I think it made me try harder. It sucks because we barely get enough, and I feel like we try harder than most people do.
The biggest struggle of being undocumented is you literally depend on people in the government system, which they don't understand how they make you feel whenever they threaten to take out like certain things like the DACA. You always like wonder, am I gonna be able to renew it? Am I gonna be able to go to school? Am I gonna be able to get a job? It's like you never know. You're always on thin ice about it.
You know, and I just feel like I don't belong there. And at the same time, like being here, being undocumented and watching the news and like just hearing the undocumented like situation going on like every single time, it just makes me feel like I'm not wanted here either.
Hay muchos estudiantes que son buenos en sus grados, honores, y valorar eso, porque ellos también necesitan y vienen aquí por un futuro mejor. Y el gobierno pues debería de ponerle un poco más de asunto a esto, ¿verdad? Que vaya más informaciones en las escuelas para que ellos sepan cómo pueden salir adelante, porque ellos quieren salir adelante.
The counselor that we had, I don't think she was really knowledgeable about any of that subject, and I feel like most counselors aren't. So as an undocumented student, it made it so much harder for me because it was like deadlines and deadlines, and I had no one to answer my questions. And then I was like 17. My parents didn't know anything. So I feel like counselors should totally like get the knowledge they need in all of that.
Kind of have presentations like the ones that they hold for the UC system, the Cal State system, kind of have like presentations just directly for undocumented /streamers /AB540 students, so that that they can have more help and more like information on that, because I feel like a lot of students don't think they have a lot of help from the government.
Just make them aware that there are like more options about things, more like scholarships and stuff like that. Just make them know that, it is possible to achieve your dreams, even if it's harder.
I feel like the government can allow students to get like the residency just because we're students. We're not doing anything. If they look at our like criminal records, we have none.
I don't want to have to wonder if I'm gonna be here next week or in a year. Sometimes I'm thinking about my future and I'm like, wait, hold up, you don't know if you're gonna be here in a year or two. And it sucks, because I do want to be here. I don't know anything else but here.
We're just literally like everybody else. And I feel like the government can open up more federal aid and more help for dreamers.
Like where we're at right now with our administration, I feel like the most important thing is to let undocumented kids know that they're not like parasites, or they're not like unwelcomed. Because in the current climate that we're in, like I just feel like they just feel so inadequate because of how the administration kind of views them.
My message to undocumented students now is just do your research. I feel like that's literally it. Do your research, like get help.
I feel like they try harder than a lot of people out in this world, and I feel like, you do you. As long as you know that you're focused and you're doing what you have to do to succeed and be better than most people that, were born here, you're already doing a good job. The fact that you got to graduate, the fact that you're going to, go to college and study and dream and work hard is why you came to the United States in the first place, for the American dream. And
accept your country, accept where you came from, accept where your family comes from, accept it and embrace it, and like use that to, push yourself, like motivate yourself, and like become someone that your family is proud of, someone that you're proud of.
To like honestly just believe in yourself and know that the only person that can stop you is like you.
Please welcome our next presenter from the class of 2021, Toby Grande.
Imagine a world where loving someone or being yourself can get you arrested, beaten, or possibly killed, all because they don't agree with your personal beliefs. Well, that right there is the world I am living in. My name is Jamie Grande, and most people know me by Toby. I am a pansexual, transgender male, and I have been discriminated against almost every day of my life. Being part of the LGBT community can be very scary sometimes, especially with our new president. Yes, I am bringing the president into this. He has made it easier for the community to be denied access to food, homes, and health care. LGBT people are 120% more likely to experience homelessness due to their families not accepting them or due to them being denied shelter. Our president thinks he can silence us, but I will not be silenced. I want my voice to be heard. 85% of LGBT people have experienced bullying. I have experienced this for more than an entire year, and it had almost led to my suicide. Not a lot of people know that about me. I was told that I was worthless, that I was disgusting, that I should just kill myself, and that no one would care. I have depression and anxiety, and I'm taking antidepressants, but I'm also going through hormone therapy, meaning I'm taking testosterone. If I had killed myself back then, I wouldn't have made it this far, taking testosterone, that is. Now imagine this. You're walking through the streets, minding your own business, when a truck pulls out in front of you and shoots you in the head, just for you being trans or gay. I have to worry about this and hope that it doesn't happen to me or anyone that I truly care about. In 2018, there has been 26 deaths of transgender beings in the U.S. due to LGBT violence. There has already been one transgender woman who was shot this year, and her name was Dana Martin, and she was only 31 years old. 58% of LGBT students don't feel safe, and I think a way to make them feel safer is if we added more safe spaces in our school, showing them that they have a place to go where they won't be judged for their sexuality or gender, such as the GSA Club. I also thought about having events for LGBT students, such as an LGBT dance, bake sales, and any other form of bringing people together for the good of this community, hoping that the proceeds from these events can go to nonprofit organizations that support the LGBT community. We are human too, so please don't be afraid to stand with us instead of fighting against us. Thank you.
Thank you, Toby. Please give a big hand to our next documentary, Suicide Prevention by Julie Garcia.
Suicide is currently the second leading cause of death for children and young people between the ages of 10 and 24. Each day in our nation, there are an average of over 5,400 suicide attempts by young people grades 7 to 12.
What suicide is to me is when a person is in a state where they can't just handle all the pressure they've been going through in their lives, and then they believe that to get out of it, suicide is the answer to it, but it's not actually.
Usually when I think about it in my ways or how I've experienced it, I feel like suicide is just I know that the definition is one killing themselves intentionally, and to me I also believe that, but I also feel that there's also factors that contribute to it.
Some factors that can contribute to suicide risk include previous suicide attempts, sexual orientation, depression, bullying, and cyberbullying.
We have a support suicide prevention team that has come to Katella, and they have given a talk on what the signs are, where to go, what to do. And again, our school, our APs have informed us of who are in charge of who's that crisis team that we can go to.
I think a lot of people get the idea that I am a county social worker that works for the county, and then I go to people's home and investigate whether there's child abuse. That is what some social workers do. That is not my role though within here at Katella. As a licensed clinical social worker, I am able to do therapy, I'm able to do risk assessments, threat assessment, and that basically means ensure the safety of a student here on campus, make sure that they don't want to harm themselves, harm someone else. And like I say, I always tell the kids, I want to listen to your story, I want to know you, I want to know your story. So in terms of warning signs, there's a lot sometimes that a kid will bring forth. They'll put it in writing, they'll put it in social media, they'll tell friends.
Experts say 4 out of 5 teens give clear warning signs that they are considering suicide. Warning signs include noticeable changes in eating and sleeping, withdrawal from family and friends, unexplained severe rebellious behavior, and talking or writing about suicide.
But there are those that live with this kind of silently and they go without giving any type of warning sign, so it could go either way.
We always talking to our teachers or to our colleagues if we see students that are, withdrawn, right? Or perhaps we see a big shift in their behavior, a big shift in their personality. And if you see those warning signs, then you talk to somebody.
Right now, Adele is saying, if you're facing a situation, have somebody know about it, but who knows if they actually do understand you.
Well, one time I ended up getting called out of class because the counselor wanted to talk to me because my parents thought I had something wrong, and they were right. But I didn't really have trust in telling the counselor something like that because it was just a one-time thing. But most of the time I just didn't really feel open because I wasn't really close on one-on-one with them. And I know that people there's programs and stuff that you can get help, but sometimes I feel it's hard.
The resources we have in place, of course, is a full-time LCSW. We have full-time school counselors that can also work with students in regards to, conducting general, just kind of risk assessments, talking to them, seeing where their needs are.
Teachers should help students dealing with suicide by always referring them to the professional, like our social worker, person in charge of crisis, counselor.
Aside from in-school resources like places to go to and people to talk to, Ms. Cortez listed resources outside of Katella that students can go to.
Outside of school, there's so many clinics outside of school to support students for one-on-one therapy. There's groups outside of school as well. There are also programs that we can link them up to that are free of cost for them. So there's a ton of support. There's therapists that go to your home and meet with you at home if you feel uncomfortable going to the agency, So there's a ton of programs. It's just about figuring out the needs of the student and then the best fit for them.
As a staff, suicide is the last thing we'd ever want to deal with, we'd ever want to experience as educators, right? So we do our best to prevent that. We now have a full-time licensed clinician social worker, which is Ms. Cortez, and she's here full-time now and she's dedicated to our students. Not every school in the district has a full-time LCSW.
It's all about hearing their story and figuring out where they're at and figuring out, okay, what supports do they need? So everything is bringing up a game plan for them.
The students I interviewed gave examples of resources they would like Katella to provide. Resources include programs and someone to talk to, not just a teacher or administrator, but a trained professional. Today, Katella students have access to their licensed clinical social worker, Lorena Cortez.
I'm here with the counselors. I work really closely with the counselors, with the family liaison that we have here so that we could work with the family, and then our school psychologist, obviously, and with our administration team. So you can find me in the counseling center, and I have an open door policy.
Talk to someone about it, someone they trust, and know that whatever decision they make, to direct them to the right person, it's to, because they care about them.
Don't let others pull you down and say things that can literally affect you in the future, because that's not who you are. Don't think low of yourself.
Life is worth living, believe me. Things will get better, and you can make it better. A lot of it. Don't let life's circumstances dictate your life, but rather dictate life's circumstances.
Honestly feel that if you're able to have enough self-confidence and trust yourself and be happy with who you are, or just be okay in the end, then I do feel that you're able to proceed, be successful, and
Stop trying to find yourself and start creating yourself, and so that's kind of my starting point with them. It's we're no longer going to be looking for who you are, because that's going to, when are you going to find out who you are? But let's start creating the person that you want to be. So your story starts, and let's start creating it.
Thank you, Julie. Now please welcome our last presenter from the class of 2021, Iana Rodriguez.
As a child, I grew up not having anybody to talk to about the problems I was going through. I grew up with a single mother moving in and out of motels and having to be placed into foster homes and having to experience being homeless at one point. I wanted to address this to other kids who may not know the people that are sitting around them and what they may be going through. I'm passionate about helping other kids to find somebody to talk to about the problems they're going through, because as I said, my brothers and sisters and I have been through so much together. We were homeless, living in my mom's car, and having to be cleaned in public park restroom sinks. I have been through abuse in foster homes, and it was all on my mom since my dad left, and she was a single mother and a heroin addict and alcoholic. My mom's best friend was her grandma, and she started struggling. My mom's best friend was her grandma, and she passed away while my mom was doing really bad in school, being in gangs, doing drugs, and getting into fights. My mom's mom was also an alcoholic and drug addict as well. My mom liked to keep her emotions in, as a lot of young teens like to do. This led her off to a bad start in life. She had her kids being taken away and not being able to keep her living situation stable at one point. Everyone has a story and individual problems, so what can we do to help let these people know that they aren't the only ones? I decided to make a group here at Catella where anonymous letters could be dropped off into boxes that are set up around the campus. You could place a question or problem or just anything you need to get off your chest. We can make a share option, and those who choose to share, we could place that problem or question on KTV for anyone else who may be going through the same thing. I know at first it's weird talking about your problems with other people, but that shouldn't worry you because these letters will be sent anonymously. So if you need to talk about something, it may be relationships, family problems, school, work, anything really you write, we could give you our best advice and opinions on as fellow peers. If you want to be a part of this group or want to be an advice giver, I will have a sign-up sheet during Love Week at lunch just to see how many of you guys will be willing to help your fellow peers, to give them the help and advice they need to go down the right path in life. Thank you.
Also critical thinking, because it helped me to stop just talking about my problem but also come up with a solution.
Critical thinking, because this is a really hard problem to to fix in general, because these are people that they just want to live, that's all.
Was communication, because when conducting my interviews, I was able to hear the opinions and thoughts of the people I was interviewing, and this helped me come up with adequate information to add to my presentation.
Communication was one of the 5 C's that was most important to me because it gave me the advice from my peers that I needed to make my presentation better, and it gave me the feedback that I needed to know if my presentation was good or not and if there was things I needed to fix.
Like if you want to have an issue that you want to fix but you don't really know how, you can have ideas given to you or from your friends or any peer, even a teacher can help you, and it just brings that nice communication, because sometimes teachers can give you oh, maybe you can improve this and you can do this, or maybe they just give you the idea and something just comes to you and you're just oh wow, yeah, that sounds good, maybe I can make it better.
For me, it was very important to not just only speak for myself, but also to listen to their opinions and what they could say about my topic, for me to improve it, for me to get to know what they want to hear as well.
Looking at new ways really helped me on my research, and one of my friends was what if I don't want to hurt my parents, or anyway, is there any way possible I can help myself without hurting them, because I really love them, this and that, so it helped me work on it.
I think creativity was the most impactful for me because it allowed me to create my own solution, so obviously it has to be original. It can't be something that was already made up. And documentary wise, I feel it allowed us to elaborate more. It allowed me to add my own perspective and how I wanted others to perceive this particular topic, and I feel because of that, the creativity allowed my project to be spot on.
Definitely character for me, because this is about the individuals that suffer from major depressive disorder, and I want people to know that everyone should be valued whether they have mental illness or not.
I believe it was character. We all were very passionate about the work we want to do, and it involved a lot of different people, and it took a lot for them to tell us what they did.
Some of our presenters today will have booths during Love Week if you are interested in learning more about their ideas, would like to help them sign petitions, or want to join their cause or club.
In addition, all of our presentations today will be available on YouTube after our event.
Finally, we would like to thank the following people and groups. Thank you to the Catella High School English Department, Jordan Garcia, Christina Mendoza, and Cheryl Campos for kickstarting these talks.
Thank you to Mr. Newville, Mr. Delgado, Ms. Montoy, Joseph Wong, and our Catella High School film crew for our live stream and their support.
Thank you to our audience, district friends, and parents for their support.
And thank you to Miranda for being my co-host this morning.
Thank you to Dulce for being my co-host this morning.
And finally, thank you to all of our presenters for their courage, ideas, and inspiration.
Have a great rest of the day, and please use the front doors on either side of the theater to exit. Thank you.